whether Fitz is still in the hot tub or not. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is game number 2. We're here on the pit. And I got to say, I love the way that the pit spawns in team games. This is the way it should spawn. You can see how close they all are, hugging each other together. But take a look at the pocket position. You might normally think the guy in the middle is going to be the one that's the pocket, but Divine's actually got a bit of a more safe spawn. He's kind of away towards the backside here compared to his allies.
Interesting looks. If you compare the two pockets, though, you can notice that we have Numadon rather close to the opening of the pit, whereas on the other side, the other pocket, Neza, is closer to that back forest. So he's a little further away from that central area, which is likely going to get walled off. It's going to be interesting to see this dynamic, because there are pros and cons of that positioning. I feel like it's slightly better to just be close to that backwood line, especially for HRE, because you want to have an optimal Archon Chapel placement there. Yeah,
that's a good point. There's a lot of good spots for that Archon to be going down, but unfortunately for him, they're quite far away from where they could be. We take a look at the Chinese base. Beautiful little opening here for GKS. Starting out with a village. I'm going to be focusing in on GKS quite a bit, as you know, Lidakor. I'm a China enjoyer. So it's always important that we do that. Now, Kaio also on the Malian, so we could potentially see double sling coming out for both teams here.
Yeah, one big difference is that while Fitzbro with the Malians is in the opposing corner to that large gold pile to the north, down south, Kaio is right next to it. So for Fitzbro, it's unrealistic to go in Dark Age and go for those 2 large gold mines in the north, or at least one of them, because he can only make 1 pit mine. But for Kaio, there's a decision point. Do you go for the pit mine right next to your TC, or are you going to start walking out there and secure some more gold? Do keep in mind that your gold trickle depends on the amount of buildings built right next to it, so you could justify the extra walking time by being able to place more buildings for more gold trickle around it.
I think the scary part for me is you never know which way the gold mines are going to spawn. And look at him moving the vills back. It looks like it's going to be a trading landmark that he's going to open us up with here, Kaio.
Let's go.
As he does step in. Saharan Trade Network going to be coming in along the wood line. Drop it down for us, baby. Let us see. Now, the further up he can get it, the better.
I would love to see just a lumber camp being dropped and it's like, well, there's your Saharan Trade Network. But you hyped it up so much that for a moment I would have been super happy just to see a lumber camp and then see your face as you're like, well, that's not a landmark.
That is not a landmark. No, sorry, Bob. Now, interestingly, it's a little bit more of an advantage for Fitzbro being up in that right-hand corner because he's actually closer to the trading post, which means he's going to get the income from his Saharan Trade Network if he chooses to go for it sooner than what Kaio gets his, because he's got to wait for his traders to go all the way down across the rest of the map. Yeah, so a bit of a difference there. But at this point in time, nothing too out of the ordinary. My suspicions are still that we're going to be seeing a sling, and take a look at this. We got the Mansa Quarry coming in.
Interesting. So if someone wants to sling, it's likely going to be Fitzbro. I would be surprised to see him play 2 TC, although it's not impossible it's going to be a 2 TC sling. But slower start on both sides, and a massively different approach to the use of the Malians here. On one side, it's either going to be a full sling approach or a 2 TC build, whereas on the other side, they'll build heavily on that trade. I have the feeling that the trade is going to work out better, especially if they can get some walls up. And don't forget, they have roofs available, so if they just want to drop a couple of palisades, they can also have more stronger palisades than other civs.
Keep in mind, this is a really easy map to wall off. Even though you've got these giant spaces, mentally, it's very easy because you just connect space A, or rather wall A to wall B. It's very segmented, and it makes it easier for you to control that way. So don't be surprised if we do see walls coming across the length of this map, and it's setting up for a longer game.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those places where for a long time nothing happens, and then in just a blink of an eye, you're going to see hundreds of units appearing on the playing field, and it's just a non-stop slugfest from that point on. And that's something you have to be conscious about for both teams, because if both of you are sitting back like this, then the team whoever starts to build army first could easily just snowball the game, because the other team has nothing right there to stand in their way.
Speaking of building army first, it looks like Neza going to be dropping down a barracks. A very early barracks as well. Song Dynasty coming through at the moment as well for GKS. About a 5-minute 10 age up. Not a bad little time for him. So we could potentially see a bit of a feudal age play stable out for Numadan. We'll check in with the base of Divine. Of course, he's going to have the Council Hall, or rather the School of Cavalry already dropped down. Look at this early trade, though. This is super duper early to the core.
Yeah,
are they just going to be... Is it double knight pressure, where they're just constantly trying to raid at all angles, and then the other team is trying to defend? And meanwhile, the trade is going ham.
Yeah, it's a smart idea, because you're the one initiating contact. Now, this trade is going to get spotted by the scout. So from this moment on, Fitzbro should know that it's trade. But what do you do to stop it? You have to respond to the knights first and foremost. Otherwise, your base is just going to get torn to shreds. And that's why it's so clever. You use 2 knight civilizations to harass. And behind this, Kaio can just go for the full trade boom.
I guess one of the ways that you could look to shut this down is send a villager on both sides of the map. So you'd say, hey, GKS, can you send one of your vills to their corner? And then Fitzbro will send one vill to his corner. And then they will just look to wall out the respective positions.
Well, look at that. Speaking of villagers being sent, bit of a risky move out here from Define, moving out for 3 carcasses. But do keep in mind, they have the knights. And this tells you how confident they are in their map control. They know fully well that they can afford to go out there because... well, they have map control and they're using that. Look at that, already some damage done here on this gold mine.
Yeah, and look at them intentionally focusing on the pocket player. Obviously, Neza looking to try and make sure that he is safely able to go up to the castle age. I don't know what his resources are that he's stacking up at the moment, but I would suspect with that many villagers on gold, he's going to be wanting to get to the castle age sooner rather than later. And another spearman coming over right now from GKS. He had his skates on. I'm not sure if you saw that, Lidakor, but he was ice skating all the way across from his base.
Yeah, it's such a good idea to focus the pocket player, especially if the pocket player is HRE, because HRE has that escalation potential that's so rapid with the Burgrave Palace possibly, or possibly even a fast Imperial from that safe location for the Palace of Swabia. You delay that, you give more time for this trade to kick in. 310 gold per trip on these traders. Don't forget, folks, you actually get more gold for trading with the neutral trading post than what you get for trading with your teammates.
Fitzbro saying on the other side, he says, well, if you're trading, I guess I'll do trade as well. The only problem is that he's not going to be doing as good at trade as his enemy is going to be doing.
Yeah, it's also delayed, and let's say that he's delayed by 1 trip. How much gold is that? We're talking thousands of gold, and that is all the difference that needs to be there. Plus, don't forget, while Fitzbro's team is being ravaged by knights right now, the other side is completely unharassed. So it's going to be difficult for Fitzbro to get a sustainable trade going. And I think he also went for the Mansa queries, so he's not even going to have the Saharan trade network for that trade.
But not just that, his enemy has got double knights. We've got the Rus and the French. And I mean, even if you want to go to the extent, you could even say triple knights, because the Sofa is a heavy unit that's quick, does a lot of damage, available in the second age. So he's going to have to deal with that as a trader. And that's never something you want to be dealing with.
Yeah. Now, look at that. Divine looping around to the north. They may have spotted the trade already and they are just waiting for it. And this is the other problem for Fitzbro. He's setting up the trade in the right-hand side corner, but for that he needs markets on the left as well, because this is just half trip for the initial run with the traders. He's going to need markets set on the left side for delivery.
Numadan now reaching the castle age. The Rus player up before the 9-minute mark. Relic's going to start to get picked up very, very soon. I'm assuming he went for the Abbey of Kings, or rather Abbey of the Trinity, rather than the Great. Yeah, there we go. Abbey of the Trinity coming in. The other option for him was the High Trade House, but obviously didn't go for that one.
You can go for a good High Trade House on this map, but I think the benefit of the Abbey here is that you want to yoink the relics away from Neza. And remember, Neza got delayed. He's just now going up to Castle Age. So you can possibly yoink most of the relics away, and then you render one of the strongest elements of the HRE gameplay almost unusable.
Is he going for Burgrave? Let's take a look and see. It's Regnitz. Oh, and look at the Knights on top of the Regnitz right now, and a trader coming in. Fitzbro saying, hey, you want to take out some vills? Here, have a trader as well. And Fitzbro coming up empty right now. That is a terrible position for him. Where are these traders going, by the way? I don't see any market in the north of the map.
I think they're just rallied there, waiting for a villager to get there, but it's impossible to get there because, well, guess what? You have Knights blocking the way, And this is why the double Knights play works so well with the trade from the Malians, because you're always going to be the tempo setter, you're going to be the aggressor, so your own trade is going to be well protected, whereas you have the option to harass the enemy trade.
Yeah, this is super smart. I wouldn't be surprised if we look to see other teams emulating this strategy. The aggression that you're able to put out with the French, together with the Rus, just guarantee that you've got safe trade behind this. We can see walls coming in right now as well. Kaio looking to defend his market. And Kaio, look at the support he's providing to his teammates. So feeding it back in, slinging all that gold that he's getting and using it to support the team. Such a smart move by this team.
And the reason why it's so scary is because we often talk about how powerful French can be with a good economy. If you're being slung, you can easily afford to get to Castle Age sooner than usual, and then just go for the Royal Institute, go for Royal Bloodlines, and just flood Knights non-stop. You're not going to be constrained on resources because you're non-stop slung by a very powerful Malian player.
It's a really, really good call. Chukunu now coming out. Going to have a tough time here against the Knights, though. For anybody unfamiliar, the break points that the Chukunu gets are matched perfectly by the Knight. The Knight's only ever really taking 1 damage from the Chukunu. Able to act with impunity.
Yeah, Knight
Hear those relics getting picked up everywhere.
Yeah, indeed. Knight number is steadily increasing for Divine. If he can get to Castle Age, he's gonna have 20-ish Knights with Royal Bloodlines, and that's something that's scary. Now, Kaio's gonna need some help on the right side over here. He's kind of being overrun by the Donzos of Fitzbro, but he probably shouldn't need much. This is a relatively even trade, so just a couple of supporting units should be enough to hold this off.
Yeah, this isn't a big issue. The other thing to notice, that it's just Donzo against Donzo, so it's Spearman against Spearman. These guys take forever to fight. It's like two fat guys punching each other's tummy. They've just got so much weight behind it that it's not really an issue. A lot of health there. Chukunu now moving. I think he's got +1 ranged attack, but I don't... judging by Divine and how quickly those Knights died, I don't think Divine's got the defensive upgrade just yet. Can we check on one of those Knights? No, Chukunu have only got 4 damage. Yeah, okay, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe the Chukunu just going a little bit ham right there. Yeah, yet to get through that +1 ranged attack. Or rather, ranged defense.
I loved how GKS picked off the scout from that bunch. It was an easy pick off, unlike the heavily armored Knights, and it helps a lot for Divine to use that scout to acquire targets. Now, he has way less vision on those Knights, so I would actually love to see him add an extra scout, just so that it is easier for him to acquire targets again.
All right, well, the Knight numbers are starting to build. Neza looking solid, but he's got Knights here up against Donzo, something you'd always want to be careful with. You can see him chasing, trying to get a couple of pot shots in, but unfortunately, came to the wrong neighborhood.
Yeah, Kaio just needs to hold for a brief moment because he's on the way to Castle Age, and you see Numudon is even going to move in to help with the archers and the Knights. First to Castle on Divine's team is going to be Kaio. On the other side, Neza is already up, but he only has a handful of Knights on the playing field right now, namely 5.
Well, there's a few town centers at the moment coming up for Divine over here. 2 town centers additional. He's a man who likes to boom, and indeed, 2 additional town centers will help him out here. So Numudon not going to be needing the gold. Instead, Kaio going to be sending it to Divine, and Divine just converting it into town centers. It's an interesting strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out.
I think Kaio or Divine just bought all the resources he needed for that town center. He didn't even mine a single bit of stone, didn't even chop a single bit of wood. He just said, okay, here's 1100 gold. I might as well just buy 2 town centers.
It was... I suspect that's probably the case. Keep in mind, stone's actually pretty expensive to buy. So you probably want to buy the wood and gather the stone. But over on that west side, there's a bit of a push coming in. We've got ourselves a Donzo versus Donzo battle, which is going to take some time. We're right on board over on the west side, though, and see that push coming in from GKS. Moving towards the trading post over on the west side of the map. Keep in mind, that's the most important part of this map right now for the south side team. If GKS is able to shut down the markets and the traders in that corner, he's going to stop any kind of feed that's coming through here.
Yeah, that's a really good raid coming up over here. Remember, you have defensive towers in, but picking off those traders is great value. Each of those are carrying 300 gold plus. So 3 traders out there, amazing value, but you could easily get yourself cornered, and I feel this might not be enough to hold this off.
This is not enough to hold this off. The Spearman numbers aren't even going to matter here. He's just happy to fight against them. one-on-one. He could easily take them out right now, but I think he's just going to wait for the crossbows to come. He'll let them, or rather the archers to come. He'll let them sort it instead. But the cost of doing that is that Kaio's going to be losing a few traders here. Spearman numbers still looking pretty solid, but just nowhere near enough to deal with the knight numbers that are here.
I feel trading off a couple of those traders for this army is still good value for them. It's more important to make sure they don't lose their knight mass, because they will need that. They want to start raiding, and look at that. I mean, Kaio still just sent 1,800 gold, so losing a couple of traders is something that he's going to survive, but it matters a lot that they maintained the integrity of that army, and once Divine gets to Castle Age, that's still going to be a formidable force of knights upgraded to Castle Age ones.
Can we jump on board with Kaio and see how many traders he's got rallied to the market in the south side of the map? If we take a look at it, Kaio's got a purple market down on that south side. 37 traders right now.
Crazy.
How about Fitzbro? What's he got going on for his side of the map?
Yeah, first of all, Fitzbro isn't trading to the corner, and that's a big one, I think. He's trading right next to the wood line, and yeah, he's sitting on 29 only, but I think it's probably less than 300, about 280-ish for the gold.
160.
Oof.
Yeah, it's a huge difference.
Oh no,
they're
not reset. Look at the rally point. It's inside the base of GKS. It's not even corner to corner.
Yeah. But it's never been for Fitzbro. He's never put down this additional market. And I don't think he realizes the power that he's missing out on here, or the potential that he's missing out. Because the number one rule when you're trading is you want to go as far as you possibly can.
Yes, for sure. Initially, that was the spot, but I just thought he's going to reset it once the knights are gone. But they have walls complete, and they've never been reset. There is an option to just place it to the north, but he didn't do so. Now, Imperial Age is now going to come in for Neza, which means he's going to have a faster Imperial than the Castle Age timing of GKS. Take it as you will.
It's pretty fast. It's pretty fast. But GKS is going up, though. I don't know what the numbers would be for GKS, but I suspect he is on... Is he on 2 TC, GKS? I only see 1 TC on the minimap for him. Huge walls coming up right now as well. Let's take a look. 1 TC. It's just China 1 TC in team games. So a bit of a weird champ right there. But yeah, it's strange. But now the Castle Age is going to be coming through for Kaio as well. Jeez Louise. The economy from Kaio is massive right now.
Yeah, it is. It's massive, and we are reaching the stage where he can afford to sling his teammates and also add army at the very same time. So he's going to have 200 out of 200 population while also being able to continuously support his teammates. And this is where it's getting scary. We have a 50 eco lead for Divine's team, and Fitzbro, he's down 1 age compared to Kaio. He has 6 archers and 5 Musafati warriors to stop this with. How exactly is he going to do that? I think it's a mystery.
It is definitely a mystery. Kaio is still sending out resources, reaching the Imperial Age when his ally is still in Feudal. Divine is now sitting in Feudal and just making villages and knights all this time. The age up going to be coming through, probably going to be going for the Royal Institute, but honestly, with the money that Kaio's got in the bank, I wouldn't be surprised if he just looks to support his ally again to go for Imperial here.
For sure. I mean, at this point, you can do a lot of things here when you have so much gold as Kaio. You can sling Divine into Castle so he can get the Royal Bloodlines upgrades. You can sling Numadan to Imperial. This group not even getting cleaned up by the Lancers, and it's just a deep push, deeper and deeper into the base of Fitzbro. I don't know.
I just realized, take a look at the minimap. Look at the walls. We've got 3 different colored walls for each team on each side. Isn't that so cool? You know, normally you see one player doing the majority of the walls, but here we've got every single player walling their respective quadrant.
Yeah, it's...
Bloody... look at those resources being sent through. That's crazy. 3,300 gold going over to Divine. Divine said, hey guys, I need to get some upgrades. Has anyone got any spare gold? And his allies answer the call. That is a lot of resources.
I think it tells you a lot when the Rus player also can afford 1,000 gold to send to the French player. Because it's one thing that Kaio is sending a ton of gold, but Numadan has so much. Look at this. Kaio is slinging Numadan, and then Numadan is just gonna give that to Divine. Now, that's, by the way, horribly inefficient because you pay taxes every time you do the transfer. But still, that just tells you how much gold they have to play around with. They don't need to care about it.
Yeah. We enter the 20th minute of this game, or the 21st minute of this game, and Kaio has absolutely taken over on the Malians. This is why Malians are so damn good in team games. They've got the power to empower their allies and to take over the game completely. Fitzbro now reaching the Imperial Age as well, following his ally up, his enemy up. The Chukunu numbers here looking pretty solid, but at the same time, you're up against Imperial units. How does it feel? I guess for the moment, it feels pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is a bittersweet victory over here for GKS's team, though. They're going to be slowed down here on the right side by multiple keeps, and behind this one, you're going to have 3 players, rather, in Imperial for Divine's team. GKS is still Castle Age, so the strongest component of their late-game army, the Chinese, is still missing. I feel like Fitzbro's team is in a steady position, and if this game goes long, they could have a shot. But right now, the tech advantage could easily swing this in the favor of Divine's team.
Yeah, definitely going to be the case. Just judging by the positions at the moment, the advantage is obviously with Divine's team. Huge economic lead, huge military lead. Tech lead is massive as well. The main factor here driving this is just the trade. And there's no two ways about it. Numidan went for this trade from the beginning of the game. And I think it's just the overall strategy, right? Like the whole concept of it is to be trading. And at the same time behind that, in front of that, making sure that you're putting pressure on your enemy with knights. You're making it so that they can't trade either, and that they feel pressured to not be able to trade. We saw Fitzbro intentionally not going for the trade landmark because he fears trade, going up against double knight civs in the Feudal Age.
Yes, indeed. Now, looks like GKS's team is stabilizing, though, despite being down by 80 eco. They are still in a decent spot. If you look at the army numbers, not terrible, and they're holding off these assaults. Big question is where the push is coming from Numidan, or dare I say even Divine, because we haven't really seen them just yet. They might be focusing on somewhere else. Maybe the north? I don't see them.
Yeah, it could be.
Especially Divine's army, it's just missing.
Do we see a Wonder coming out this game? I feel like we might even see a Wonder coming out this game, honestly.
Could be.
The way the walls are coming up, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Wonders.
Yeah, normally you wouldn't say Wonder even in a team game. But when you have so much gold to play around with that you can essentially afford anything, it's a different story. And remember that going for the first Wonder is a risk. Because from that point on, you just spent a bunch of resources on a Wonder, and if it wasn't sent to army, then you could easily get overrun. On the other hand, if you're not confident that you can, let's say, steamroll the opponent in 10 minutes, then there's definitely some intrigue in making a Wonder, because you could say, hey, I can just drop a Wonder and good luck getting through 16 layers of stone walls.
Yeah, well, I guess the thing to note is everyone's in the Imperial Age, right? We're only 23 minutes through this game, but you're not really going to make much headway in a 3v3. You've got every single portion of the map covered. I think the likelihood that we see a Wonder here is approaching 85 to 90%.
I agree. In fact, if you look at the bottom left, I think we might be on the POV of Kaio right now. But he's mining stone pretty heavily, ton of gold available, he can get the food. I think that, as you said, we're reaching the point where a Wonder could be realistic. Partly because players will be pop-capped, you don't have a technology advantage, you don't necessarily have a unit composition advantage. So what exactly is the kind of advantage you're trying to build on? Being able to force the opponent to have to attack is a huge advantage, so that could easily be one of the cases. Sacred Sites could also come into play, though, because if you take a look at their orientation, could actually end up being interesting.
Yeah, I think at the moment, obviously, GKS has got one Sacred Site walled in towards the north. The other two are contested on the south and the center of the map.
That
the interesting thing for me,
actually.
Oh yeah, it does actually belong to Neza. Yeah. One of the things to note, and Fitzbro still hasn't done this yet, so I'm going to offer a little bit of a tip for anybody here who's an aspiring team game player. Maybe you're interested in playing the Malians as well. What Fitzbro did in the start of this game was very smart. He put a market in his ally's base so that it could be defended, and he knew that his ally was going to be able to protect it. But right now, Fitzbro is not trading to the corner, and he wants to be trading to the corner because the longer this trade route is, the more efficient it becomes, the more gold he gets. If we look at Numidan, or rather, if we look at Kaio's traders on the south side, they're picking up 310 gold a trade run. Compare that to the traders here of Fitzbro, It's doing about 178. So just make sure that you're putting your markets in your corner and resetting the home market point for each of those traders. You can see 310 right there coming through for Kaio.
That's very big. In fact, if Vodka can show us the top left with the incomes per minute, I think that's gonna paint a clearer picture on how big the discrepancy is between the gold incomes of the two Malian players. Let's see. Income per minute, and there we go.
Fitzboro's on 4K, Kaio on about 6K, so you can see about 50% more right there. And it looks like he's gotten through to the trade line as well. Can we take a look at Fitzboro right now? Fitzboro under attack from Kaio on the trade line.
Yeah, a couple of infantry units got through. I didn't actually see how many. Wasn't a lot, though. They were picked apart by towers, some arrow fire. Yeah, it feels scary, but in reality, it only picked off a couple of traders. It was more intimidating than what it actually accomplished.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Important to wall that trade line in, though. Make sure that it's the integrity's not too compromised. Fitzboro, now the guy handing out the gold. Look at this. Yeah. Just when you thought that that Kaio was the guy with all the cash. Not so long, not so fast. And we've actually got triple trade coming in. Take a look at this down on the south side.
Yes.
All three players going for trade.
Don't forget French trade. That's a really powerful form of trade as well. Allows you to secure food and crucially wood, which, as weird as it sounds like, if this game goes very long, could easily be a luxury commodity. Those side forests are actually very easy to contest for the opponents, and then you start running out of wood at the back. So if this game goes very long, that French trade with the wood income could easily be the difference maker.
I feel like at this point we are approaching 100% certainty of a wonder coming out. Where are you putting your wonder though? It's time for a wonder. Let's drop it down. Where does it go?
I think if you are Neza's team, you put it inside the base of Neza. In the middle, there are 3 layers of stone walls, and it would be right next to an HRA player with emergency repairs. In fact, he should be the one making it. Other side, maybe far left corner. If the enemy gets to your trade there, you're dead anyways. So might as well just do that. But we may need to wait for the trade because looks like momentum. Wait a second, I'm confusing things here. Look at the stone walls. These are Fitzboro stone walls, and they're being taken by the Musafadi gunners of Kaio. So, yeah, there it is. They just walk up on the right side. So, thanks to Fitzboro stone walls, now GKS has to fight kind of against those walls out there, those stone walls. Definitely causing a lot of problems. How did he even
get up there? Does he have siege towers or something? I don't see any way that he can get up.
There's a breach on the right side. That was the big thing.
Oh, right, there we go.
Yeah, there it is. Double breaches, actually.
Aren't they such beautiful walls?
Yeah.
These are my favorite walls in the entire game. I love them. And now in the middle, there's another breach happening. It definitely feels like if the wonder's going to be coming up, it's probably not going to be the team of Neza that's doing it, but rather...
Whoa. A palisade wall. Weakest link in the chain. And you have crossbows or arbaletier more precisely to support this. So palace guards, they won't do anything here. This could easily be a momentum switch.
Yeah, it definitely could be. Chukunu coming out, though. Keep in mind, these guys have got all of their upgrades in at the moment. They're pumping out damage non-stop here. Focusing down these knights on the front side. Having plenty of DPS on the back. Look at the incendiary arrows come in. Just taking them out one by one as each Chukunu dies. It empowers the Chukunu next to it. Providing that attack speed, that extra little bit of a heal. Look at that dynasty bonus coming in. And even though it looks like a difficult position here for GKS, he's very happy holding on to this. The main thing for him is that he's got to clean up the siege that's behind this. He needs to make sure that he's not losing all of his production facilities.
The concern for them is that they're not getting closer to winning this game. They're avoiding losing this game for sure. This is a nice defense out there for him, but they haven't really managed to get any damage done to Divine's team. And don't forget, Fitzboro's trade is still underwhelming, to say the least, compared to Kaio's one. And now in the middle, you do have the Streltsy lining up as well, long-range springboards for the Rus. French trade, a better Malian trade on that side. The concern for Fitzboro's team is that in every single element of the game, it feels like they are actually at a disadvantage.
Yes, I do agree. It definitely feels like that. And I think the biggest part has been the lack of stone walls over here for GKS. You would have loved to have seen more stone walls coming up, but unfortunately, the palisade, it's going to be compromised very, very quickly. Looks like an overrun is really starting to happen now. In the middle, we might not even see that wonder. You know, I was talking about it approaching 100%. I don't even think they're going to need it at this point. Divine just flooding units. Look at the resources that we've got in the bank. Are we able to take a look at the kitties that are back here for these players? Maybe pull up their current resources in the top left of the screen.
So the problem, at this point, I agree with you. I don't think we are going to see a wonder anymore because there's momentum on Divine's side. You only make a wonder if there's a stalemate and you don't think you can break it, but they definitely know they can break this. They see the opponents crumble. They have a 50% army advantage right now. They're able to get raids going, and they are starting to become more and more impactful, as you see.
Yeah, these knights are fearsome. And the market in the corner going to get focused down. Nothing to protect it. No stone walls. He's able to get behind, and all sacred sites have now been captured by the team in the south. And the sacred site victory timer begins. Who needs a wonder when you can get one for free? And you can reduce that time down as well. Instead of 15 minutes, it's only 10 minutes here.
Those stone walls are once again backfiring for GKS's team. Now, the triple layer stone walls of Neza have been taken by the Streltsy of Numadon. So now they have to fight against their own stone walls to get to those sacred sites. It's getting increasingly difficult for them. They have to deal with these raids. They don't really have high mobility units to do so with. And even if they did, they have to break through their own stone walls, essentially, which are defended by Mustafari Gunners, Streltsy, and of course fully upgraded Royal Knights.
It's not a fun position right now for Team Fitz, bro. Civs out for Harambe, indeed. Civs not just the only thing that's going to be out here. It also might be the Civs out for Harambe team, because things are looking poor for them at the moment. 150 villages down, 100 military pop down, and things only getting worse by the minute.
Yeah, if you look at the overall population, it is almost PopCap versus 300 population, 2-to-1 population ratio, and now it's a snowball. Oftentimes, long team games end with the team losing the trade, losing the game, and I think we are getting very close to that. That trade is now exposed, and cannons marching into the base of Neza. From Civs out for Harambe, we might go to press Fs for Harambe at this stage.
Yes, it's a sad outcome, but a predictable outcome. We did know coming into this that they were going to be the underdogs. Unfortunately, in this situation, it does look like that they're going to be heading home very shortly, but they'll be back tomorrow, I'm sure, Lidakor. And indeed,
there we go.
Surrender comes through. Good game gets called, and Fitzbro and crew tap out. It's going to be DKN heading through to the next round.
A really good synergy of those civilizations, and let's not forget game number 1. They used up Abbasids and HRE, and we were somewhat puzzled why. This tells you why. So many times we see in the first initial 2v2 featuring French, they wanted to save French for this map for that late game trade. And then same thing with their Rus pick as well. That's part of the reason why they went with the civilizations they went with in game number 1, and the synergy of their civilizations really showed in this game. Vol thought up game plan, and the only thing I'm now curious about to close this game with is the overall gold gathered, because as you pointed out, one of the big things was that Fitzbro's trade initially was set up to be shorter distance, but it never really got reset to be long distance, and I think it really shows on the overall resources department.
Yeah, I'm curious to see as well. Let's have a look and see if Vodka can take us over to the statistics right now, and we can get an idea of exactly how much gold was gathered this game. Obviously, we've got Kaio on the Malians, so you're going to be expecting him to be pulling out some big numbers here. It's so big it doesn't even fit on the screen. That's not a family-friendly statement, to say the least. 116,000 gold.
Versus 73,000. That's a 40 to 50% discrepancy. This is why you always have to pay attention to your trades. Obviously, Fitzbro was busy just making sure he survives the game and microing his forces. Of course, we always have to keep in mind that we see everything, whereas the players didn't, so maybe he didn't reset his trade for a long time because the looming threat of future knights. But at the end of the day, I think the story is clear. That long-distance trade, the discrepancy between the two, is a massive difference between the two teams, might have been the main reason why Fitzbro's team ended up losing this game.
Yeah, if the trade is corner to corner, then all of a sudden Fitzbro's income's a lot higher. But at the same time, keep in mind that he doesn't have access to the Saharan trade network. So he's never going to be on 100% even footing with Kaio, but that definitely would have gone a long way to it. Fitzbro actually in the chat at the moment saying, didn't build trade in the corner on purpose. It's games where people raid aggressively. It is in a worse position. In games like this where they just sit back, corner would be better. Yes. So
Yes.
as Fitzbro says, it definitely made a lot of sense in the early game. Fitzbro had that market inside the base of his ally. The ally was able to protect it. But I think after the walls were established, maybe a bit more of a greedy approach could have been applied. Could have looked to have really maximized that